Hello and welcome. Giorgia Melonia, who's set to become Italy's first female Prime Minister, has called for unity and promised to govern for all Italians. Projected results in the Italian general election show victory for a coalition led by Ms Meloni's far-right party, Brothers of Italy. The Democratic Party have already conceded. In her first speech after her triumph, she said the voters had indicated their desire for a centre-right government. These are the latest numbers based on partial results. Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy, 26%, their partners, the League, 9%, Forza Italia, led by Silvio Berlusconi, 8%. And for the Left Alliance, the Democratic Party, led by Enrico Letta, is estimated to have 19%, the populist Five Star around 15%, and the third poll just short of 8%. Lee Milner reports.
It's a historic moment, not just for Giorgia Meloni, but for Italy as a country. For the first time, voters have chosen a female Prime Minister, one which aims to form Italy's most right-wing government since the Second World War. Speaking after the vote, Ms Meloni said her Brothers of Italy party would govern for everyone and would not betray people's trust.
Italy has chosen us. It's important to understand that if we are called to govern this nation, we will do it for all Italians, with a clear objective of uniting the people. Because the great objective that we've always had as a political force is that of ensuring Italians may once again be proud to be Italians.
At almost 64%, turnout was very low, and voting levels were especially poor in southern regions, including Sicily. Ms Meloni's party is the biggest party, but she will have to share power with other right-wing parties in a coalition, with Forza Italia led by ex-Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi and Matteo Salvini's League Party. A Meloni-led Italy will alarm much of Europe, with Russia at war in Ukraine. But unlike her right-wing allies, she has openly said she is pro-NATO and has no time for Vladimir Putin. Although she has worked hard to soften her image, she leads a party rooted in a post-war movement that rose out of Benito Mussolini's fascists. Still embracing their old slogan, God, Fatherland and Family, she campaigns against LGBT rights and is calling for a naval blockade of Libya to stop migrant boats.
On civil rights, she's very, very right-wing, and issues have been taken about the abortion laws, about, a lot of things that in Italy were going on in a way are more liberal. But now we see that we are going backwards.
This election has been a political turning point for the country. Besides tax cuts, her alliance wants to renegotiate Italy's massive EU COVID recovery plan and have Italy's president elected by popular vote. As the country's new Prime Minister, it will now be up to her to steer Italy through one of its most delicate periods, dealing with huge challenges from the energy crisis and high inflation to a possible recession and a winter wave of COVID-19. Lee Milner, BBC News.
Let's talk to our correspondent Jessica Parker, who's in Verona in northern Italy. Italy waking up to a big change. What's the reaction like so far?
Yeah, I mean, people I've been speaking to this morning as the city gets going don't seem overly excited, because I would say there hasn't been a sense of excitement while we've been here over the last few days. It's worth remembering, of course, Italy tends to go through governments pretty quickly. And there's a sense of apathy, a sense of frustration, cynicism as well. A lot of people talk about how politicians promise big things and then they feel that those aren't delivered. So there'll now be pressure on Giorgia Meloni, if she becomes a Prime Minister, on course currently to do so, to deliver some of the things she's talked about, which have proven relatively popular here. So people do talk about the tax cuts plan. They like her hard line on immigration as well. But of course, it isn't just Giorgia Meloni, as we were hearing there, who would be part of this government. She has her partners that she ran in with coalition, and that's another issue as well. It isn't just about what people here in Italy think. Europe is watching this race as well.
Now, she's from a far-right party. She did say in her speech after the victory that voters had indicated their desire for a centre-right government. I mean, what can Italians expect from her? I mean, is it likely that Giorgia Meloni is going to be becoming a little bit more moderate than she has been in the past?
Yeah, I mean, she really rejects the far-right label. As we've been hearing, the party has post-war fascist roots, but she says that she's done a lot to eliminate that in the party, that's all in the past. And it was interesting, I was speaking to a voter yesterday talking about those roots of the party and did it worry them, and they were obviously leaning towards supporting Giorgia Melonia, and they said that's in the past, we've got to look to the future. And she has tried to soften her image politically. For example, she's certainly softened her rhetoric around the European Union. However, it's interesting to note that the two people who are kind of quickest out the blocks to congratulate her this morning from European Union countries were Poland and Hungary, two conservative nationalist governments that frequently have tussles with the European Union over issues like LGBT rights, over issues as well where, for example, Hungary has put its foot down and tried to object to certain sanctions against Russia or suggested that sanctions should be re-examined. And of course, that is something that one of her coalition partners, Matteo Salvini from the League Party, has also suggested. He's questioned the efficacy of sanctions against Russia, and that's why there might be a little bit of nervousness, I think, in Brussels as to what a Giorgia Meloni government will mean in terms of its approach to the war in Ukraine. Remember, Italy, of course, is the EU's third largest economy. Who runs this country really matters.
Italy's economy just has struggled for as long as most people can remember. What are Italians hoping for from Giorgia Meloni to help them?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the wealthier areas of Italy for sure, and tends to lead the Veneto region, tends to lean towards the right, so towards tax-cutting policies. And I mentioned those before, so she's talked about bringing in a flat rate of tax for those earning under 100,000 euros, supporting businesses as well. So I think that is something here that they really want to see. And then I mentioned before as well her perceived hard line on immigration, so this idea of a naval blockade of Libya to stop migrant crossings on boats. People we've talked to approve of that largely, although, you know, worth saying, of course, as well, there are people here who really dislike Giorgia Meloni's policies. They worry about what she might mean for minority rights like LGBT rights. She remains quite a polarising figure. But I think what people also really want to see is support on the cost of living crisis, which is hitting Europe across the piece, because Italy was extremely reliant on Russian gas, has felt the squeeze of the energy price crisis. Everyone you talk to, if you ask them about their energy bills, they shake their head, they look worried, they say yes, they've gone up. So they really want to see support in that regard as well.